ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to Citizen A, where we wrap the week's current affairs with the best political team on television from a very Auckland perspective. Warning, we're as fair and balanced as Fox News. Joining me tonight on my revolving panel of bloggers and Auckland opinion shapers, he runs the best independent news site in New Zealand, constantly holding the powerful to account in a way we can only dream TVNZ would. He is known as the thinking woman's bit of crumpet, editor of scoop.co.nz, the ever-brilliant Selwyn Manning. And he is the voice of community, former host of Sparkle on Sunday from Alt TV and suave man about town, Auckland radio broadcaster from Ponsonby Radio, the ever-sparkly Stephen Oates. Welcome to you both. Coming up tonight, issue 1, forget Pete Tong, it's all gone Pansy Wong. Why should MPs lose travel perks they've earned, and why did John Key tell Pansy not to front to the media? Issue 2, Simon Power's conveyor belt of cheap justice and the search and surveillance bill were aired this week. How can lifting the threshold of a jury trial to 3 years satisfy genuine justice? And aren't we seeing one of the largest erosions of civil liberties this country has ever passed in modern political history? Issue 3 tonight, Paul Henry says he was used by TVNZ as a performing snake with a sting in his tail. Isn't he a performing clown with a chip on his shoulder? And we'll end the show on a final word, but let's kick things off with issue 1. So Pansy Wong's future is hanging by a thread after she mixed personal publicly funded perks with her husband's hovercraft business. What's more surprising, an abuse of a perk or that anyone would invest in hovercrafts? Selwyn, John Key has proclaimed that travel perks should end because Pansy Wong was abusing them. She also used her electoral office as a postal address for private businesses. Will John Key be abolishing electoral offices next? Why should MPs lose legitimate benefits just because Pansy Wong abused them?
Well, I think it is really a case of John Key wanting to take the temptation out of the hands of his babes, really. And it all comes down to that. If you're looking also from the point of view of the recent visit of Hillary Clinton here to New Zealand, that there is a demonstrated kind of sensitivity that the United States has where you see Chinese interests spreading right across the Pacific. New Zealand is significant amongst those independent Pacific Island states. And what we've seen is you've got a cabinet minister, a member of the executive, Pansy Wong, her husband, who has obviously close business ties with people from the People's Republic of China, but also government officials from China, where he's sharing an electorate office with this member of the New Zealand executive. Now, it goes as read that the diplomats that would have come with Hillary Clinton would have waded through all of this type of thing. Do you think in their interest that they wouldn't have mentioned it?
So the CIA tipped Pete Hodgins off?
Well, we know that within the US Embassy that there are at least 2 CIA people there.
Yes.
And that was announced in the New York Times last year. But these types of things do demonstrate, in my view, a sensitivity by the United States' interests on how close China can get. New Zealand is going to be the meat in the sandwich the more this particular juxtaposition in this region is played out.
How does New Zealand play China off against America? How do we do it?
Well, it's been trying to do that by advancing free trade and obviously all those things with China, whereas its security interests are embedded in our foreign policy interests with the United States.
Whoever wins Prime Minister next year, first thing, a ship visit from the Americans?
I don't think it comes down to a ship visit. I think both players, meaning New Zealand and the United States, know that it's not down to ship visits anymore. This is about New Zealand actually taking close combat roles with the United States' interests. That's what that signing of the Wellington Declaration was all about. And it also is a sharing of New Zealand intelligence operatives, for example, you know, in both the GCSB and also in the SIS and military intelligence have been actually exposed to the big game, the real game up in Afghanistan. That's not generally known, I don't think, in most circles.
That our intelligence officers are so involved in Afghanistan?
Well, New Zealand's up there getting experience on the ground in an intelligence.
But at the end of the day, money talks, and money is going to come through trade deals and things like that. And the average New Zealander, the farmers, frontier, all those kind of things are going to respond to where they're getting the money from. And at the end of the day, they're going to get their money from China. So we're going to end up, if we're not already, which we probably really are, we're going to end up in bed with China over America because they're not going to have the money.
We are in that sense too. When you sign a free trade deal, it brings with it all of these diplomats, all of these attaches, all of these people that are actually information
You get more of a relationship.
conduits.
It's not just money. You do form more of a relationship.
But that coziness, I think, is very significant between Pansy Wong's husband, the New Zealand executive and the Chinese government.
Stephen, how has John Key handled this? He asked Pansy Wong not to say anything in the media until the report comes out, while bagging Pete Hodgson for asking questions in the first place. Wednesday last week, he was defending Pansy Wong. By the end of it, he was gagging her. Have we finally found a topic John Key isn't optimistic about?
I think he is stuck between a rock and a hard place, and that obviously he wanted to shut the story down. And
Yes.
at the end of the day, politicians, if they want the story to go away, they all shut their trap.
Yeah.
But this story came back because more information obviously came out. But I'm more interested in these perks and why politicians are allowed to take their partners with them. What other company, on this scale, allows you to take your partner along and pays for everything? And why does someone need their partner to be there, to hold their hand? This is their job. You travel for your job, you do the job, and you come home. What other company wants you to take your partner with you? I think that
Isn't it a wonderful work balance? Shouldn't we be promoting work balance? Caring about those relationships, allowing them to foster. I mean, politicians do a lot of work outside of their direct, their working hours in the community, which are actually part of their job. They don't see their partners much.
Yeah, but some MPs have been caught out before on certain sightseeing trips with their pregnant fiancés, and I think this is something that just keeps coming back and haunting MPs. Chris Carter, I think he would still be in the Labour caucus if this hadn't come about that his partner had gone on all these trips with him as well. I think if you're doing a job, you get paid to do it. If you want your partner to go along, you pay for them.
I think Stephen's actually raised a valid point here too, that the general public has moved away from thinking that they have a privilege that they deserve. And if anything, the leaders of the respective parties in Parliament, and certainly the Speaker of that House, has been very slow to pick up on that.
Right. So when Pansy Wong was the Minister of Women's Affairs, the first question to ask is, who will let women down now? From childcare cutbacks, dumping pay equity, and ACC denying counselling to rape victims, Wong was a pretty crap minister, wasn't she, for Women's Affairs?
Yeah, well, once again, I think what this does is it demonstrates how little talent there is when you take the lid off the top of some of these parties. If you get beyond the top 5, you really haven't got a lot left.
Yeah, but she did a fairly poor job. Under National, women have gone backwards.
And the other thing is too, does anybody in their right mind expect a national party to actually look after women's interests?
Apparently lots of people who voted in 2008 did.
Having said that, I just have to say that I pretty much forgive anyone that's called Pansy.
Stephen, why do the public hate politicians so much? Many work bloody hard and these travel benefits are earned, yet populist backlash suggests we want them flogged.
You keep saying, you've said it twice now, these travel benefits are earned. They get flybys?
It's something that's given for people who've served a certain amount of terms. They've actually got to be in there for a certain amount of time before they can earn
Give them a
it.
pension, and if they want to go travelling, they spend it out of their pension.
So no perks?
Do they get an accommodation perk? Do they get a clothing perk? Do they get a food
they get
perk?
they get all sorts of benefits. If you've been
They
working
all
at a
should
job
go. They
long
all
enough,
should
if
go
you've been
then.
working at a job long enough, you do build up those things, don't you?
I just think you should get paid.
I mean, the
pay.
decision's been made to get rid of the things. I mean, there's real problems for National in the detail of this, however, in the sense that is the Speaker going to rule out that there is nothing for those who actually accrued all of this perk in the past? Or is it going to be just from now on? These are the problems that they've got. And there's all sorts of, juxtapositioning that's going to go on, that's going to go on those points.
But in the next election, they're going to come out and say, we've trimmed the fat,
exactly.
we've been economical,
Yeah. We've led the charge.
We're not spending cash everywhere.
Question to both of you. Georgina Tuhir, who is the new Minister for Women's Affairs, and she described the department in 2003 as a sexist relic which should be scrapped. Her appointment will have women and feminists everywhere celebrating, won't it?
Doesn't that prove my last statement about you can't expect the National Party to look after the interests of women?
Won't women and feminists everywhere be thankful that a woman who refers to the actual department as a sexist relic which should be scrapped, won't they be rejoicing?
Yes, but don't forget Georgina is also a Māori woman and she's the Minister of Pacific Island Affairs. So it's a very similar situation, is that perhaps she's not quite the best suited for her portfolio, which again raises the question of, does National have the talent to be able to fill these roles? And it begs the question, well, it doesn't look like it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if the public actually thinks so as well.
Perhaps Rodney Hyde would make a better Minister for Women's Affairs. No. Selwyn, who wins, who loses with Pansy? Who wins, who loses with Pansy Wong's resignation and travel perks getting dumped?
You know, some in the National Party kind of arena, they would probably say John Key's a winner on this. He's demonstrated decisive leadership in getting rid of her, accepting the resignation, and then pressurising old Lockwood Smith, the Speaker, to actually do something about the problem in the first place. But generally, I think the debate needs to continue to look at really what the public thinks about the whole thing. And really, you kind of get the feeling that the politicians as a group actually lose on this, because it looks like they've been forced into getting the snouts out of the trough.
Right. Stephen, who wins, who loses with Pansy Wong's resignation and travel perks getting dumped?
Well, she obviously loses.
Doesn't she just?
I think Lockwood Smith is actually looking... when he was first appointed Speaker, I thought, oh gosh, he's a bit kind of wimpy, you know. But then he went and got married, and he's showing quite a lot of strength in some things.
Isn't it? I'm a fan. I've become a fan.
He's winning me over.
Yeah.
I think, you know, the real telling thing is going to be when they appoint their new salaries. You know, their salary thing is coming up very shortly for the next term and the next year and everything like that. I think that'll be interesting to see whether they give themselves a bit of a price
they will.
hike or
That's
not.
where the payoff's going to come from.
Like I said earlier, money talks.
The only thing is with Lockwood, he could have actually moved on releasing the information and opening that gate of information on who has been actually in the trough on this to the public, to the media. But he's kept it. It's not subject to the OIA, the Official Information Act request. It's outside of the perimeters of that.
How is that possible?
Well, talk about look after your own interests.
Sweet Jesus, that's unbelievable.
The Speaker's discretion as to whether or not that information comes out, and he's been forced in these cases to actually open
that's
up more.
funny. Thank you, panel. Issue 2, Simon Power's conveyor belt of Chief Justice and the Search and Surveillance Bill were aired this week. Aren't we witnessing the largest erosion of civil liberties ever attempted in modern political history, with literally zero public debate? Selwyn, denying jury trials for sentences less than 3 years means all those cases are going to be heard by a judge. Yet a 2009 report on judges in New Zealand found them to be idiosyncratic, arrogant, inflexible, and not up to the job intellectually. How will the quality of justice be impacted by Simon Power's pet food grade cheap conveyor belt of mercy?
It'll be a negative impact, quite clearly. You know, we all know that judges represent a group and they live within a group of privilege. You know, they're
very well-hoofed.
Well-hoofed group.
Well-hoofed.
The other thing that really concerns me, beyond what you've just said there too, Bomber, is this issue where, you know, absentee trials.
Yeah.
You know, where's that come from? You know, I know Algeria does it.
Yes.
You know,
yes. Third world dictatorships like to do that.
I mean, we knew Ahmadzawi had death sentences put against him in absentia.
Yeah.
You know, France does it, but it's a totally different judicial system. You've got to really wonder, has New Zealand come down to that? I think the problem has actually been coming from the point of view that legislation over the last 12 years has been making it more sensitive to supposed wrongs that have gone on, putting more people through the court, more arrests going on. You know, instead of the government actually, you know, instead of the government saying, let's ease off on the cannabis charges, you know, and just take the clog out of the pipes in the court and the justice system. Let's focus on violent crimes or whatever. It hasn't done that. It's actually taken the rights away from people.
Stephen, Simon Power defends pissing on the principles of the Magna Carta by telling us that justice delayed is justice denied. If this was the driving force, why not build more courtrooms and hire more judges?
Well, the question is this about having a speedy judicial system, or is it about saving money? And I mean, clearly it's about saving money. I'm all for having a smoother justice system. I think that people, victims and things like that, get pulled through these courts for years on end, and I think that doesn't serve anybody. I think obviously it's a money issue. I also, if it was me going into court, I mean, let's say, for example, they made beauty a crime.
Yes, let's just say.
I'd be in trouble, and I'd be going, I'd want to go up against a jury instead of a judge, because a judge is about the letter of the law, whereas a jury is more about the spirit of the law. And I just think going against a judge who might have some prejudice against whatever, it's more frightening.
You know you're going to jail, right? You know you're going to jail.